How you doing? Today I'd like to talk a little bit about setting up an advertising campaign and what some of the basic steps are. So, when building an advertising campaign, there are a couple things you need to consider, especially from a graphic designer's perspective. So, the first step, like with many things, define the problem. What problem do you need to solve? And how can graphic design help? There are a variety of things that can go into a fully fleshed out and developed advertising campaign. Really not going to cover every single one, but as a designer, as an artist, as a contributor in this process, you need to think about what is the problem that needs to be solved. Does the company need to have more customers? Do they need to have better sales? Are they promoting something important that needs to be more widely known to the public? That's the problem that needs to be defined. If you don't define the problem correctly, you could put a lot of effort, a lot of money, and a lot of stuff out there to try to solve a problem that doesn't need to be fixed. So a lot of work needs to go into this stage for your advertising campaign to be effective. For example, let's say we have this little black Vans shoe, super popular, been around for a long time. Maybe the problem is we need to increase our sales, or we need to flash up the product a little bit, get it to sell again, get it to sell to a new audience. So we'll develop this Vans example as we go along, as I discuss some of the properties of the campaign process. Step number 2, brainstorm solutions. All right, so you're not going to have just one idea that solves all the problems, that brings everything together. Really important to brainstorm and think through a variety of ideas. In an advertising situation, it's never a good idea to just get fixated on one solution and then exclude all else. It's really important at this stage that when you've defined the problem and you've started to brainstorm solutions, that you explore as many avenues as you can. It's never a good idea to just get that myopic tunnel vision and only try to solve one problem in one way, because your customer base and the audience is very diverse, and they're not all going to respond in the same exact way to the same solution. So you really need to test things out and think them through. Another part of this brainstorming process that I have always found really valuable is to talk it out. Some people can be really solitary and work by themselves and work on solving problems that way. But, we're a social people. We like to talk. We like to figure things out. And so I've always had the most fun in brainstorming sessions, pitching ideas and bouncing them off other people. So if you can, include that in your brainstorming process as well. And then take notes and sketch and doodle and put together little ideas on what you're going to do. Third basic step is time to start thinking about a strategy. Once you've defined the problem, you've brainstormed some potential ideas. Now it's time to look at a strategy and start thinking, how am I going to strategically take these ideas that I have and get them out there? What do I need to do to actually make it become real? Lots of research and development can go into this stage. Figuring out, okay, what's the best delivery method? What's the best medium to connect with my audience? What types of things do we need to create and develop to get in front of them? So maybe from a graphic designer's perspective, what sort of artwork, what sort of photography, what sort of typography and sales message do I need to include in my strategy, and what's really going to motivate my customers? Then we get into things like technical details, like, okay, well, is this going to be print advertising? Is it going to be online advertising? Is it going to be radio, TV, outdoor, mobile, any number of different channels that I'm going to use to try to reach those customers? All of those things tell you what needs to be created, what needs to be developed, what needs to be made to make this come together and become real. Then you want to focus on the message itself. Is this a sales message? Is this a, hey, we have the best quality, we've got the best service? These are some cliches, but what's the basic message that needs to get out? And is that message going to be followed through in all the things that are designed and developed and created for that campaign? And you really got to hone in on what that message is, because you really can't be all things to all people, and you don't really want to be. You want to focus in on a few key things, a few key attributes, so that your message is clear and direct and easily understood. And you want to make sure that the audience, that they're listening, that they want to hear the message that you have, so it sounds authentic and it's something they're actually listening for. Fourth step, once you've gone through that preliminary stage of defining the problem, brainstorming ideas, strategizing, now it's time to get down and create the content. Well, what is that content going to be? Thinking of the vans scenario, what if we wanted to, make vans into a product that would appeal to Star Wars fans, right? Well, this is where we need to get together and start making our content and figure out how to put Star Wars into vans. I thought this was a fun slide I found. Adobe Wan Kenobi. So here we're going to be developing ideas. We're going to be taking those original designs and figuring out how to put them together, make something. We're going to be printing things out, testing things, composing them, building them in Illustrator or Photoshop, working on those designs and testing them. Maybe it's going to involve multimedia and other things. Maybe it could involve video editing, putting together different animations. Any number of things could come into the process. Here's an idea. What if we did custom painted vans, Star Wars vans? Maybe that would appeal to the Star Wars audience. Once you've defined your problem, brainstormed ideas, strategized what to do, created your content, well, now you got to measure how successful it was. You got to find out what changed. So you need to get to know your customers, your audience. You need to know what their behavior is. Did they respond to the advertisements? Did sales increase? Did awareness develop? How can you measure that? There are tools online that help you do that. Advertising agencies spend a lot of money on measuring the success of their advertising campaigns. And so a lot goes into understanding the psychology and the behavior of the audience. And if you're not measuring what they're doing, then you really don't know if what you did was right or if what you did was wrong. It's a very methodical approach, testing and then repeating. So you want to get a breakdown of where people came from, what they responded to most, and how that attracted them. So that's a basic rundown of some ideas for improving and developing an advertising campaign. As it relates to us, as we're working on graphic design projects, we're focused a lot on the visual aspect of this process, but it's really important to be acquainted with the entire process, because you're a team member and you need to be able to communicate and work with the salespeople, the customer base, everyone in the process, so that you can have a successful campaign. All right, so hopefully that's a good breakdown that makes sense. Talk to you later.